Through the years, they shared the highs and lows of life. Arguments became more frequent, but the pain was undeniable. How had it all gone so wrong? Had their love not been enough? Welcome to Get Real with JB, where we dive deep into real life stories, exploring complex emotions, relationships, and the kind of experiences that shape who we are. My name is JB, and in today's episode, we'll be talking about something many of us have faced, yet few of us talk about: navigating life after a long-term relationship ends and dealing with the unexpected emotions that come with it. This is a story about love, loss, and the difficult road to moving on. Stay tuned as we explore whether it's really okay to get married right after ending a long-term relationship. A small disclaimer. To protect the identities of those involved, the names in the story have been changed, but the emotions and experiences shared are 100% real. Neha and Rahul had been in love for over a decade. They first met as teenagers, and from the very first moment, a deep connection formed between them. Through the years, they shared the highs and lows of life, walking side by side, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. Though they came from different families, each with its own values, expectations, and dreams, their love had always been their guiding force. Despite these differences, they held on to the belief that love was enough to overcome anything life might throw their way. For 12 years, they were inseparable. They celebrated birthdays, attended family gatherings, and savored the moments of just being together. They made big plans, shared small secrets, and often talked about the future. It felt as though nothing could come between them. They were the perfect couple, or at least that's what they thought. But life, as it so often does, has a way of testing even the strongest of bonds. For Neha and Rahul, that test came in the form of family. Neha's parents had always been supportive of a relationship with Rahul, never questioning their love. But Rahul's parents had a different perspective. They were never fully convinced that Neha was the right match for their son. The cultural differences between their families were often too much to ignore. His parents had hoped for a daughter-in-law from a more suitable background, someone who fit their idea of a perfect match. Rahul tried for years to navigate between his love for Neha and the pressure from his family. At first, it wasn't easy, but he believed that love would eventually win out. However, the strain began to take its toll. Arguments became more frequent. Their dreams, once shared and full of hope, started to fracture. Slowly but surely, a distance began to grow between them, one that neither of them could bridge, no matter how hard they tried. The decision to part ways came after many years of struggle. It was mutual, but the pain was undeniable. They both hoped time would heal their wounds, but neither could truly prepare for the emptiness that came after the separation. Neha found herself questioning everything. How had it all gone so wrong? Had their love not been enough? The first few months after the breakup were some of the hardest months of Neha's life. She had lost not just a partner, but someone who had been a constant presence in her life for so long. The memories were everywhere, reminders of the person she had thought she would grow old with. She threw herself into work, hoping that keeping busy would somehow fill the void inside her. But the pain was always there. It never fully left. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and slowly Neha began to rebuild her life. She went out with friends, traveled, and started to experience a sense of independence she had never known before. But even as she laughed again, there was always that lingering sadness, the ghost of a love that once was. She tried to push it aside, to move on, but the scars were still there, quietly reminding her of the past. Then, 3 years after the breakup, something happened that would change everything. Neha was scrolling through social media one evening when she saw a post that stopped her in her tracks. Rahul had gotten married. She couldn't believe it at first. The photo showed him in a wedding suit, smiling beside a woman she had never met before. The shock hit her like a wave, and in an instant, everything she had been trying to forget came rushing back. Her heart ached as she stared at the picture, unable to make sense of what she was seeing. Rahul, the man she had loved, the man she had shared so much of her life with, had moved on. He had found someone else. The future she had once imagined for them had slipped away. and in its place was this new reality, one she was not ready to face. Neha's heart felt heavy, and for a moment, time seemed to stand still. She didn't know how to process the overwhelming flood of emotions that surged through her. She questioned everything. Had their 12 years together meant so little to him? Had he not felt the weight of their breakup the way she had? The pain of the past few years, which had started to fade, now returned with a vengeance, raw and unbearable. Her friends and family tried to comfort her, but the pain was too deep. How could they understand? How could anyone understand what it felt like to watch the person you once thought you would grow old with move on so easily? But Rahul's life was moving forward, even if Neha's seemed stuck in the past. To him, his marriage was not about replacing her, it was about creating something new. After the breakup, Rahul had been hesitant at first. He wasn't looking for a quick fix, but in time, he realized that he had outgrown the relationship with Neha. The love they had shared was a part of him, but it no longer defined him. He thought about Neha often, but he believed that both of them needed to move on. Rahul's marriage wasn't a decision made out of a spite or to hurt Neha. It was simply the next step in his journey. He never intended to cause her pain. But in his mind, the time had come for him to embrace a new chapter in his life. Neha, on the other hand, struggled to come to terms with the reality of what happened. Her pain was not just about seeing Rahul move on so quickly, it was about the loss of the future she had imagined, the life she had once thought she would share. She had never truly allowed herself to grieve the way she needed to, and this news forced her to confront the emotions she had buried deep inside. Slowly, Neha began to realize that her pain was not about the speed of Rahul's marriage, but about the sudden end of the relationship. The love they had shared, the dreams that they had built together had all come crushing down so abruptly, and Neha had never really allowed herself the time or space to heal. She had been so focused on the idea of their love that she had ignored the process of grieving and accepting that the relationship was over. Now, with the reality of Rahul's new life before her, Neha had no choice but to face her own emotions, to heal in her own time, and to accept that both of them had moved on in different ways from the love they once shared. When I first heard Neha and Rahul's story, it made me reflect on the complexity of relationships and how difficult it can be to accept the end of something that once felt permanent. Love, no matter how deep, doesn't always withstand the weight of external pressures, and that reality can be painful to accept. Neha's struggle to come to terms with the end of a relationship highlights something many of us experience: holding on to the past while trying to move forward. It's so easy to get stuck in what you have been, especially when the love you have invested in seems to fade away, leaving an emotional void. What strikes me the most is how Neha had never truly allowed herself to grieve. It's something we often overlook, the need for time to heal, to process the emotions that come with the end of a relationship. Instead of facing the pain, Neha buried it, hoping it would fade with time. But grief doesn't work that way. It demands attention, and sometimes it takes an unexpected trigger, like seeing an ex move on, to force us to confront it. Rahul, on the other hand, represents a more practical approach. His decision to move forward wasn't about replacing Neha. It was about creating a new life that suited his needs and the demands of his family. It's a reminder that people heal in different ways, and what may seem like betrayal or indifference to one person might be a necessary step for another. In the end, this story teaches us that healing isn't linear. It's messy, it's unpredictable, and it's deeply personal. Both Neha and Rahul had their own journeys to embark on, and it's only by embracing their individual paths that they could find peace, even if that meant letting go of what once was. Relationships are complicated, and healing from a breakup is even more so. But one thing is clear: our journeys, whether fast or slow, are all our own. We hope Neha's story helps you reflect on your own emotional journey, whether you have been through something similar or are simply navigating life's twists and turns. If you have found yourself in a similar situation or want to share your thoughts, don't hesitate to reach out. I would love to hear from you. Until next time, take care of yourself and keep it real.